House of Grey, a podcast-only novel written by Collin Earl, read by Christopher Snellgrove. For more information about the book, please visit houseofgreybook.com. Music for the House of Grey provided by Figure of Fiends. Visit the band at myspace.com/Figure of Fiends. Cover art by James Thane. More information at THAYN.net. How y'all doing? You're listening to another episode of Collin Earl's The House of Grey. Can't Monson get a break? The guy just wanted a little peace and quiet. You know, some time to veg and ponder. And then, out of nowhere, his other self and the man in the black cloak show up. A guy can only take so much. No wonder Monson went all WWE top rope atomic elbow drop on the dude. Now, he's figuratively on fire, and the last thing he saw was icy blue eyes. Whose icy blue eyes? Well, I suppose I could tell you. Or you could wait like another 15 seconds and find out. As always, let us know how we're doing over at thehouseofgreybook.com. As a wise man once said, let's kick the tires and light the fires in episode 21. I've got you, Monson. Small, yet very strong hands caught him and kept him from falling outright. Cyan Harrison lowered him to the grass. The burning sensation continued its painful work. But Monson was not finished. He drew upon his anger, getting almost instantly back on his feet, ignoring the bewildered expression on Cyan's face. Monson, wait, what are you doing? He did not answer. He had to find the man in the black cloak. He had to find him and kill him. Kill him. Monson tried to think clearly through the haze of pain. No. I don't want to kill him. I just want answers. I just need answers, he thought. Kill him. Lingering traces of the black-cloaked man were all around him. They soaked the air, suffocating him. Power! I need power. Power to fight him. Please, someone! Screamed the voice in his head. The burning intensified, ripping, grinding, and grating against his psychological fortitude. The inferno of pain crashed against the numbness of foreign, all-encompassing anger. The latter finally relented, and he crumbled, totally drained of anything resembling strength. Monson! Cyan rushed to his side. She leaned over him. He watched as she did so. She was speaking to him, but he could not make out the words. Something warm grabbed his hand. Anguished words that were not his own filled the hollows of his mind, echoing in the innermost reaches. Silver? No, that's not right. His eyes are blue-gray. Why? What is happening? The sound was truly deafening. Monson forced out a yell. Quit talking so loud! He struggled against the cacophony of foreign feelings that were so intense that any attempt at description blended, mixing into nothingness, indistinct, absolute nothingness. The internal skirmish raged on, moving inch by inch, moment by moment, as pain overcame anger, light overcame darkness. Comprehension and logic fell apart as the battling factions clashed, roller coastering through the shattered pieces of his consciousness. At the last possible moment, that single moment where he thought he was about to be lost in the fury of battle, the anger was purged from him, and he lapsed into the increasingly familiar darkness. He started to come to. Someone was shaking him. Monson! Monson opened his eyes to a mountain of shiny something. What was all that shiny stuff? He blinked in confusion. Eyes. Beautiful, icy blue eyes were peering at him. He tried to sit up, but felt dizzy. Whoa there, killer. Man, his head hurt. He laid back down, feeling the weak pull of overused muscle. He searched inwardly. The evil, his evil, was finally gone, suppressed, at least for now, purified in the refinement of pain. An eerie foreboding descended upon him. The anger and pain were so intense, so all-encompassing, that he was not even sure how to comprehend all of their effects and consequences, let alone make sense of it all. He looked around for something else to consider, fearing that he might break under the pressure of the unknown. He glanced towards the stub in his hand, finally registering the shattered remnants of his wooden sword just beyond his arm's reach. It made him very sad to see the mock weapon in small, pine needle-like pieces. He also became acutely aware of Cyan sitting next to him. His head rotated back towards Cyan. How is it that you always know where I am? I swear you're stalking me. He swore, albeit inwardly, at himself. Of all the things he could have said, he had to say that. After a few more choice words directed at himself, he let his aggression slip away. He swiveled on the spot, searching for, well, he did not know what he was looking for anymore. Like so many of his other recent experiences, what just transpired was unexplainable. He was searching for the tangible vapor that made up the essence of some other person or thing. One more thing he did not understand. Nevertheless, he did understand this. He was real. The man in the black cloak was very real and somewhere close. And what if I was? Cyan sounded completely serious, which at the same time surprised and amused him. Shocking, considering the seriousness of the situation. Monson thought she might have been joking, using humor to lighten the dead air around them, but he never could tell with her. Then you're creepy. He coughed so hard he felt like he was about to lose a lung. He felt very weak. Creepy? How rude are you? Anyway, you'll just have to deal with it. Can't be helped. Okay, now he knew she was joking. Then not only are you creepy, but I question your sanity. He chuckled slightly. And you know, for future reference, your jokes would have a lot more staying power if you actually smiled when you said them. I'll keep that in mind. You do that. So, you gonna tell me why you almost took my head off? He cocked an eyebrow as a burst of renewed anger erupted from him. Not this again. What was her problem? What? Don't you already know? A dull red twinge touched Cyan's cheeks, and he could tell she was upset with herself. Ha, ha, ha. You're hilarious. Monson feigned innocence. I'm not making you uncomfortable, am I? She did not answer. He capitalized on the pause in the conversation, struggling to get to his feet, going much slower this time. Cyan put out a hand, but he ignored it. She surveyed him calmly in that maddening expression of hers. The red in her face drained quickly as she shifted her attention between his wary expression and the broken boken. She interrupted his concentration, speaking as she moved towards the shards of his sword. This is treated hard-impact wood. Yeah, so? Was it broken before? Cracked or something? No, I don't think so. Why? Monson, you shattered a hardwood boken on a brick wall. That should be impossible, no matter how hard you hit. No normal person is that strong. Well, I'm far from normal. Apparently. She stared at him intently. Stop that. Monson ran a hand through his hair. Stop what? Stop trying to understand me. Her eyebrows furrowed in disbelief. Did you really just say that? Yes, I did. And I'll save you the trouble of asking. I don't know what's going on. How do you know what I was trying to do? Because I can read people. Actually, I can read you, just as well as you can read me. That was a total lie. This girl absolutely baffled him, but for some reason, he was really annoyed at her at the moment and felt inclined to shake that expression of hers, even just a bit. She glared at him, trying hard to mask her feelings. It was all for naught, however, as the underlying coursing emotion streamed from her face like a projector. She was mad. He had actually made her mad. He took back his previous statement. Maybe he could read her a little. He chalked an eyebrow as he remembered their last encounter. Are you sure you want to be seen with me? I wouldn't want to embarrass you. Cyan's tone went defensive. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. It's beneath you. His words caught in his throat. Why was he acting this way? She just wanted to know what was wrong. She just wanted to help. It was not as if she had come here on purpose just to bother him. So why was he being so mean to her? That nagging inner voice interrupted his thoughts. You are dangerous. Monson, why are you... His phone rang, saving him from further conversation. He picked up the phone in spite of her intent to reply. It was a message from Casey. Grey, where the heck are you? Food is coming. Monson popped off a message. I'm on my way. Well, not that this hasn't been delightful or anything, but I should get going. Cyan did not say anything as he turned to leave, and remained equally silent as he stumbled, starting to fall to his knees after a few steps. Following a brief sway of indecision, she jumped to catch him, throwing his arm across her shoulders. No, I don't need your help. He tried to wiggle from her grasp, but she held tight, clenching him around the waist as if to perform a side suplex. What are you doing? Just lean on me. He turned his head down to look at her. I'm fine. You don't... She turned her head up and met his face. Stop being a stubborn ass and let me help you. Her blue eyes sharpened as they narrowed to slits. Incredibly enough, her anger seemed to intensify. Monson did not back down and again tried to extricate himself from her. She pulled his body in, gripping even tighter. He stopped struggling. They looked at each other, staring into one another's eyes, hardly noticing the passing moments. What is it you want, Cyan? Just to help you. She let out a slow breath. Idiot. Her eyes shifted and found their way to the creased lines of his cheeks, brow, and jawline. She was really too close. Cyan had this habit of doing things he least expected. Apparently, now was going to be no different. Her free hand, the one that was not gripping his waist, reached out slowly, flexing shyly as it seemed to flow up from her side. She halted, as if waiting for a rebuke. His body tightened, becoming so solid that he could not have moved, even if he wanted to. He helplessly watched as she inched towards the scarred lines on his face. His annoyance with her quickly drained away, and still, he wanted to tear his eyes from her. However, at the same time, he found himself lost in his reflected face, which was floating brightly in her pools of icy blue. He watched those pools teeter, like the rough and tumble of ocean waves, never glancing away from his own disgusting countenance. He sighed. That face should not be reflected in those eyes. Should never be reflected in those eyes. The freeze-framed moment of time dragged on while she inched towards his face. She did not make the intended contact with his skin, her fingers stopping right before the climactic communion. Out of the corner of his eye, he watched those same fingers flex nervously, before they descended back to her side once again. Monson felt another sudden inclination to push her away. He even felt the tensing desire for action mounting. He did not push her away, or he could not, as she gripped him even tighter. He finally relented, leaning heavily upon her, and at last was able to rip his gaze from her. "You promise you're not going to push me away if someone comes?" Even without looking, he knew that her eyes were burning holes right through him. "I just had to check." "I see your sense of humor is back," Monson answered smugly. "Oh yeah, I'm feeling much better." She looked up at him, answering his smug smile with one of her own. "Good." Monson felt a sharp pain in his side as Cyan slammed an elbow into him. It was not hard enough to do any real damage, but enough to hurt a bit. He hung over her. To his shock, she held up his full weight perfectly. "What was that for?" he spat angrily. "That was for being a jerk." She propped him up, holding him tenderly. "Next time you talk to me that way, I'm going to hit you with my bokken." Monson could not help himself. He laughed. With that, they made their way back to his apartment. "Where have you been?" asked a voice the second the door opened. "We've been wondering." Casey stopped mid-sentence as he came face to face, not with Monson like he expected, but Cyan. Monson had half a mind to laugh at the idiotic expression, but found that he just could not bring himself to do so. Probably because he understood just how Casey felt. Regardless, he kept his mouth shut. Casey, on the other hand, cocked his head back, speaking to no one in particular. "Well, that was unexpected, wasn't it?" "You know, your friend isn't exactly light." Cyan's voice sounded slightly exasperated. Monson's eyebrow flew up. "You calling me fat?" They all ignored him. Casey snapped out of his funk. "Oh, sorry about that." Casey moved to the side and opened the door all the way. Artorius, who had been sitting at the bar area, stood upon their entrance, a very unflattering look on his face. He grumbled incoherently, though Monson could have sworn he heard the words lovey-dovey amongst the jiving mix. Cyan helped Monson in, heading for the couch. This was all unnecessary, as he was feeling much better now, but he felt that she would refuse to leave him until she saw him settled. She dragged him along, directing him towards the center of the room. Instead of simply positioning him and helping him sit, Cyan sank into the couch with Monson, curling on top of him as they fell. He was painfully aware of Cyan's body pressing against him. His arm was pinned beneath her, and she was still gripping his waist, while her head gently rested on his chest. Monson thought vaguely that this was probably how it felt to go on a first date, except a lot less awkward. It was like they were cuddling up to watch a movie, sinking into the folds of the couch, and each other. The pose did not hold, however, as Cyan abruptly disentangled herself from him and stood up, her face slightly flushed, probably from the exertion of helping him. Casey appeared to notice her red cheeks. "You, okay, Cyan? You look a bit flushed. You need something to drink? A hot towel? A tic-tac?" Cyan shook her head, apparently missing that last part. "No, thank you. I'm okay. I don't need anything." Casey shrugged. Cyan addressed Monson. "You gonna be okay?" "Yeah, I'll be fine." "Good. She paused, only now noticing the apartment's decor. "Wow, this is a really nice place." Monson chuckled. "Yeah, that's what happens when you're a high roller like me. They pull out all the stops. It's a good thing, too. I needed somewhere to lay my Mac down." Monson could have sworn there was the slightest trace of a smile playing at the edges of Cyan's fine lips. He searched her face. Then again, maybe not. "Lay your Mac down, huh? Do you even know what that means? Nope, not a clue. But Casey says it all the time. I think it has something to do with being a player, though, granted, I'm not really sure what that means either. Really? Cyan gave Casey a sideways glance. And who are you laying your Mac down on, Cassius? Now Casey flushed. I'm not laying my Mac down on anyone. Was just playing around. And why are you calling me Cassius? Cyan tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. No reason. A commotion in the hallway outside Monson's apartment silenced them all. Artorius bounced up and ran to the door. Please be who I think it is. He opened the door to a waiting Brian, who was pushing a cart of food. Artorius jumped out of the way enthusiastically. Thank goodness, I'm starving. Brian pushed the cart into the kitchenette and started to remove the trays of food. Casey and Artorius moved towards the bar area. Monson wanted to get up. He really did. And he was as hungry as the next guy. Yet, he could not bring himself to move. Cyan also seemed to be having a similar struggle, like she wanted to act, move, leave, something, but was finding it difficult to do so. Monson could see her indecision from the corner of his eye. He did not know what she was debating, but every movement of her body told him of the struggle. Brian's gilded voice caused both he and Cyan to shift their attention. Miss Harrison, will you be joining us for dinner? Oh, I do apologize. Brian walked out from behind the counter and gave her a controlled bow. Where are my manners? He cleared his voice. I am Brian, Master Grey's manservant. It is a pleasure to make your lovely acquaintance. Monson interjected sourly. Brian, I hate when you say that. Could you just say that you're my friend or something? Brian gave Monson a warm smile. We have had this conversation, Master Grey. Tell a lie long enough, and you will start to believe it. You must always call something what it is. His gentle expression quickly changed to a rather devious one, which in turn made Monson feel like he had missed something. It isn't a lie, Brian. You are my friend, aren't you? Of course, Master Grey, but my dual role of friend and counselor does not alter my position as your servant. If you understand that truth, then one day you can perhaps understand the role of friend, counselor, and servant. The acquisition of knowledge starts with truth. You have to understand the true nature of something, someone, if you are to truly understand and gain knowledge concerning it or them. There is great power in understanding, and understanding only comes from truth. Therefore, we must seek truth. Regrettably, as so often happened when Brian interjected himself into the conversation, Monson was completely lost as to the point or relevance of his perfectly articulated discourse. Cyan, however, seemed unfettered. She asked, So, if gathering truth is the only way to really understand someone, to understand oneself, then how does one gather truth about another person? Monson felt his jaw constrict, and he realized what she was asking. He did not like where this conversation was going. Why do you ask, Miss Harrison? Cyan's next movement was curious. She brought her hand up to her mouth and started to nibble at the fingernail on her pinky. Monson held back a laugh. That was a nervous gesture if he had ever seen one. In actuality, it made her look younger, more innocent. Cyan's response fell prey to the opening of Monson's door. Monson, honey, could you turn on all Molly stopped mid-thought. Well, hello there. Cyan nodded her head and walked forward. Cyan Harrison. Cyan Harrison? Molly shot Monson a grin so wide she would have received a call back for the part of the Joker the next time they remade Batman. As in, The daughter of Guy Harrison? Cyan dipped her chin once in response. Excellent! Molly threw her arms around the unsuspecting girl. I am so happy to meet you. How do you know my Monson? What are your intentions? I will not forgive you if you hurt him, you know. Monson was not one to get embarrassed easily. When you had a face like his, thicker skin was definitely better. This once, however, he wanted to crawl into a hole and bury himself in it. Artorius and Casey were laughing through bits of chewed sandwich. Molly released Cyan, whose expression mirrored Monson's. As such, it did not surprise him when she said, Well, if you're all right, Monson, I'd better go. She addressed Brian and Molly. It was very nice meeting you both. Even before any of them could respond, Cyan nodded towards Casey and Artorius, walked to the door, and left. Monson did not even have the chance to thank her. Casey and Artorius rounded on Monson, speaking harshly. Dude, why didn't you ask her to stay? Monson raised his eyebrow. What? Why would I do that? Truthfully, for him it was the exact opposite. He was relieved to have her gone. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Grey, I swear you're going to give me an aneurysm. Why would you do that? Maybe because she's hot to trot and wants you like an Eskimo wants an Eskimo pie? Yeah, Case, that's another comparison that kinda fails to deliver. Really, not enough punch, said Artorius through a mouthful of food. He slammed a couple of gulps of his Pepsi. I'm not sure that Eskimos really have anything to do with Eskimo pie. As a matter of fact, Grey, do you even know what an Eskimo pie is? He chuckled. How about this one? Wants you like Britney Spears wants another comeback. Arthur, so not helping. Casey turned back towards Monson. First of all, what was she doing here? And why was she helping you walk? Wait, no. The point is, she was here, and she wanted to stay. Why didn't you ask? Casey, you have to stop with the delusions of grandeur. If Cyan really wanted to stay, she would have. She's not interested in me that way. I'm not interested in her that way. She's weird. I'm weird. The situation is weird. Just drop it, would you? How do you know that she's not interested in you? Did you guys have another moment? Yeah, Grey. Twice in 2 days? Artorius spit through gritted teeth. Twice now we've caught you all lovey-dovey with Cyan, and you're still... Monson, honey. Monson cringed. Molly was about to say her piece. How is it possible that you've been spending time with Guy Harrison's eldest daughter, and I didn't know about it? Monson grimaced in frustration. I'm not spending time with her. We've spoken a couple times. She's not interested in me romantically. Who said anything about you two being romantic? Molly smiled at him smugly, like she had just caught him in a lie. Lovey-dovey, Grey. Not once, but twice. In 2 days. Artorius crossed his arms matter-of-factly. Molly pursed her lips contemplatively. Lovey-dovey? Casey nodded. Yeah, that's the technical term, I believe. Molly chortled heartily. Okay, topic change. Monson tried to sound unconcerned. The impending silence baffled him. Oh, come on. There's got to be something else we can talk about. We can change the topic after you admit that you like that girl, Grey. Casey mimicked Artorius, crossing his arms as he spoke. Monson rubbed at his temples. Why didn't they get it? There was so much more happening than they understood. He answered his own question. Because you haven't explained the situation to them, Monson thought. Yet, seeing as he did not even understand the exact nature of Cyan's odd behavior himself, it was not as if he could pass his speculation off as truth. So, how is he supposed to explain a hunch? Monson's eyebrows creased. Cyan was right. He was an idiot. He quickly made a decision. I think that Cyan is a nice girl and is very pretty. And? Casey, Molly, Artorius, and even Brian were hanging on his every word. He saw that this was becoming something of a habit. And that's it. It's hard to explain, but we aren't boyfriend and girlfriend, and I don't plan on us being like that. She doesn't either. It's as simple as that. Then, what is your relationship? Truthfully? Monson gave Molly a deadly serious look, trying to instill in her that he was all business. Molly nodded at the same time, saying, Just explain to me what she means to you. Monson shook his head. You don't understand. There are things that you don't know, connections that you couldn't start to comprehend. Another one of those surprising shocks filled the room. Monson, honey, what do you mean? Monson thought about this, stewing on the information for the better part of 5 minutes. I mean, to define our relationship would force me to tell you something that I promised I would keep locked away. A promise I swore to keep under all and any circumstances. Dude, can you at least give us a hint? Casey's excitement was rising. Something to set us on the right track? Monson shook his head again. It's too horrible to speak of. The fact that I'm in... Molly and the others moved unconsciously towards him, as if to coax the words out of him. Monson finished his thought. The fact that I'm in love with my sister. Cyan is my sister.